Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News, Monday, October 24th, 2022. Stand up for your country. 15 days. This is a very important election. I know. We hear that almost every time that we go to vote. But this one, if you follow the news, and of course you do if you're watching and listening to me tonight. And by the way, I have a little allergy in my throat. The little fall allergy stuff, it's all over the place. Anyway, this is a battle between the progressive left and the American people. That's what this election is about. It doesn't have anything to do with Republicans. Republicans, they could be munchkins. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with it. It's the progressive left, which control Biden, imposing their insane view of the world on us and how we're getting hurt and whether we, the people, will rise up and throw them out. Doesn't matter who's running against them. It really doesn't matter. That's how bad it is. So I wish that the election were tomorrow, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points Memo. I'm a little afraid that the anti-progressive forces may have peaked with 15 days left. I don't think that's true, but it's possible. If the election were tomorrow, this giant momentum wave, red wave, would obviously kick in. With 2 weeks left, and I'm going to tell you what the tactics are going to be on the progressive left. They're very powerful because they control the media. That's the center of their power. It's not George Soros. Yeah, he kicks in money like crazy, but it's the media that enables them. I just, before I came up to tape here, I was watching CNN, and they were pounding that gas prices are down, which they are. But food prices correspondingly are up, so that there's no relief. But CNN was like hysterical on the gas price. Now, they should report that they're down a bit, but they don't put it into any perspective, like they're way up from when Trump left office. They never say that. But anyway, it's just an example. Now, the power base for the progressives is the media. So, 3 issues: inflation, economy, violent crime, crumbling national border. Ukraine, abortion, those things, they're in play, but they don't sway votes at this point. They don't. All right? Again, Republicans, people ask me, well, why is pro-Republican? No, that's not who I am. I'm anti-progressives. And the Republicans offer at least lip service, and I believe here in New York, more than that, okay, that they're going to correct some problems. They're going to go and try to solve some problems, whereas the progressives are not. So we told you last week that yesterday, the media blitz to try to save the Democrats would begin, and it did. Roll the tape.
Look, I think Donald Trump is the music in the heads of many Republicans. They're listening to him. They're repeating his lies about the last election. But the failure of the Republican Party to break away from someone who's being investigated, not just at the federal level, but also in the state of Georgia, the state of New York. The fact that Republicans are comfortable running with Donald Trump and not running on their own agenda, that speaks volumes.
But the fact is that we fully intend to win. We have far superior candidates. Our nominees for challengers, shall we say, and our incumbents are far superior. So they're better candidates, well organized on the ground, owning the ground with our mobilization, clear with our message into these districts.
Inflation is a global problem caused, by the breaking of supply chains because of the pandemic, by the war in Ukraine, and as I said, significant part of inflation has to do with corporate greed. What are the Republicans' response to inflation? What do they want to do? Well, maybe they want to cut wages for workers. Do they want to raise the minimum wage? No, they don't. So I think it's important to take the attack to the Republicans.
I mean, we can say that the difference between Donald Trump and the difference within Biden is a policy president. So he's going to make fundamental changes for a generation. And we're talking about student loan relief. We're talking about bringing back manufacturing, and the list goes on.
Okay, that last woman is a Latino activist. So it starts off with Brazil, Trump. And you're going to see Trump almost every day in the news tied into Republicans. Okay, that's to mobilize Democratic vote. Then we go to Pelosi, we're going to win. We have far superior candidates. It's a load of hooey. Okay, in every state, Democrat candidates are on the run, on the defensive. Then Sanders, who you just got to love him. The inflation is caused by the supply chain problems. Well, Trump had a year of that. And it was 1.3% inflation under Trump. He had a year of it. So Sanders just blows, And then we get back to Trump with Maria Kumar, the Latino, Trump, Biden's better than Trump. So that is the strategy. Now, is it going to work? I don't think so. People who hate Trump are going to hate Trump, but if you're paying 4 times as much for what you paid for under Trump, you might kind of look at the Republicans in a different way. So that's what they're going to do the next 2 weeks. You'll hear it every day. Now, the January 6th committee, which is in business to destroy Trump and to boost the Democrats, they've issued a subpoena for Trump to testify. Of course, that's exactly what they want, to bring Trump in, make Trump the center of the election on November 8th. Now, Trump, I assume, is going to fight the subpoena, and they'll never get him in that quick. I doubt that they will. But this is all orchestrated, okay? All right, so that's the memo. And now Biden's schedule. So he had a tree planting ceremony. 2:15, planted the tree, and then some Democratic stuff, and Diwali. Is that how you say it? Diwali? That's a Hindu celebration. Diwali. Okay. So that's what he does today. No problem solving. No. Tree, Diwali, Democratic politics. Okay. If I can get a picture of the tree, I'll show it to you tomorrow. Now, the media itself is panicked. All right, because all the progressives that they supported are going down a drain in less than 2 years. They are very, very worried. Okay? So the Washington Post is part of the cabal. New York Times, LA Times, CNN, NBC News, CBS News, ABC News. That's the primary national cabal. There's a guy who writes a column for the Washington Post, Jonathan Capehart. And he's associate editor of the Washington Post, too. So he gets an interview with Biden on October 21st. Roll it.
Mr. President, I'll be honest. I'm scared. Millions of Americans are scared. They're concerned about the concerted attacks on democracy, on voting, and how that's going to impact the midterm elections. We're seeing everything from Governor DeSantis's election police force arresting people for alleged violations of voter fraud. We're seeing election workers quitting because of threats. And then on top of it, you've got election deniers up and down the ballot, running for election. A good chunk of them could win. So why shouldn't we be scared?
Well, I think we should be concerned. Look, there's nothing automatic about democracy. Remember when you're in undergraduate school, they talk about every generation has to protect democracy.
So Jonathan Capehart is scared, worried. Not worried about Hillary Clinton denying the election of 2016. Not worried about Stacey Abrams denying the election in Georgia in 2016, 2018. No, not worried about that. He's worried about the Republicans who deny election, but not the Democrats. So it's so transparent, so phony. I actually thought Biden was pretty good there. He goes, oh, look, democracy, you got to fight for it, which you do. But there's just as much corruption on the Democrat side as there is with the Republicans saying crazy things. Probably more on the Democrat side. All right, so let's bring one more thing. This is good. Before we get to our guest. So Biden, when he gives an interview, the reason he didn't do more with Capehart is because he wasn't expecting that, and he didn't know how to answer it. Most of the interviews he does are scripted. He knows the questions, and his people in the White House communications office tell him what to say. All right, so his new theme is that he's bringing down the deficit. Go.
Today, my administration announced that this year, the deficit fell by $1.4 trillion. The largest one-year drop in American history, $1.4 trillion decline in the deficit. Let me repeat that. The largest ever decline in the federal deficit.
Okay. Well, it's a total ruse, but people don't know this, and that's why you watch and listen to me. So the reason the deficit came down is because the $850 billion that Biden and Trump spent on COVID relief payments to people, businesses, the $850 billion came off the books. The COVID money came off the books. So 1.4 trillion, 100 billion is $1 trillion. All right, I'm sorry, 1,000 billion is $1 trillion. So 850 billion come off the books. So of course the deficit's going to come down because it's not there anymore. You see how deceitful. Now, does Biden even know that? No, he shouldn't know. But these guys behind the curtain, they said, yeah, we have the biggest deficit drop. But we won't tell them why. Won't tell them that. And add to the $850 billion coming off the books, $5 trillion in tax receipts in 2022, fiscal year just ended. $5 trillion. The highest amount of money the federal government has ever taken from the American people. And Biden wants more, fair share. Bernie wants more, fair share. $5 trillion in tax receipts. So yeah, COVID expenditure, $850 billion leaving, $5 trillion coming in. Yeah. Deficit drop. And Joe goes, I did it. I did it. Well, you want to give him credit for raising taxes and gutting everybody? Go ahead. Hiring, of course, should be done on merit. Unfortunately, many large financial firms are using your money to force companies like Apple and Home Depot to adopt so-called racial equity audits. Strive Asset Management believes it makes companies like those less successful. But here's the good news. It is your money, not theirs. Strive just launched the Strive 500 on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol STRV. Strive uses their shareholder power to mandate America's largest public companies to focus on products and profits instead of politics and social justice. The bigger Strive gets, the more powerful their voice will be. Text BILL to 55022 to learn how you can buy the Strive 500, ticker STRV. That's BILL to 55022 to learn how you can buy Strive today.
Investors should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses carefully before investing. For a prospectus or summary prospectus with this and other information about the fund, please call 855-427-7360 or visit our website at www.strivefunds.com. Read the prospectus or summary prospectus carefully before investing. Investments involve risk. Principal loss is possible. The Strive ETFs are distributed by Quasar Distributors, LLC.
Okay, now let's bring in Eddie Scarry. He is a columnist for The Federalist, a observer of politics in our nation's capital. He wrote a book in June called Liberal Misery. They're miserable now, Eddie. They definitely live miserable now, are they not?
Well, the point of the book is that this has been going on for quite some time, but I would say yes. As we get closer to election, I think you're going to see more liberal misery.
So you're not worried about that the anti-progressive sentiment may be peaking too early? It's 2 weeks to go.
Is it peaking too early? I think in your monologue you said that the media is panicked. I look at it a different way. I think that the media is resigned. I think they see the writing on the wall. And what do? They talk a lot about Trump, about saving democracy. What you don't hear much about is what accomplishments that Biden has achieved, the Biden administration, that Democrats in Congress have achieved. You don't really hear anything about that. And I will tell you that the interview that you just played a clip of, the Jonathan Capehart MSNBC Biden interview, I every single day turn on MSNBC or CNN. And that is an interview that you would be expecting them, because it aired on a Friday, you would be expecting them to carry it into the following week, because a lot of people, like myself, because I have a life, I missed it. And yet you did not see that interview anywhere. I had to look up clips on Twitter to find what Biden had said, extended clips about what the questions were asked. And I can tell you that is something that there is a reason that CNN and MSNBC do not want to highlight that clip.
What is the reason?
It was shocking that they aired it to begin with, because Biden seemed about 2 seconds away from needing to be in a nursing home. His answers went on and on and on. They were over here, they were over there. It was in a way obscene
there wasn't
that
any
it was even allowed
cogent
to be on.
Right, and that was my point, that they weren't expecting that Capehart meltdown. Now I don't know whether you get the Washington Post every day, but certainly see it. They have become more entrenched with the progressive movement in the last 2 years since Biden's been in than at any time in their history, I believe, or am I wrong?
No, I think that's true. The entire media, I think I used to be of the mindset that, yeah, there were certain biases that were in the news media, the New York Times, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN. But at least there seemed to be an attempt on many of these reporters, journalists, and anchors to get things right, or find the center, or find the objectivity. But now there's just out and out hostility every single day. There's out and out, very obvious lying. Demonstrable lying. The one thing I will say about Jonathan Capehart is that I spent about 3 days with him on a work-related trip in Hawaii, actually. Very nice guy, not very bright, not very sharp when it comes to politics. But therein lies the danger, because he's used very easily by Democrat forces and obviously the Washington Post.
Now, did you see any reporting when Biden came out and said that he's responsible for the record drop in the deficit? Did you see any reporting, as I just did? Remember, the Washington Post has a guy, Glenn somebody, who's supposed to be the truth guy, the fact checker. Right. Did you see anybody say, yeah, but that's because all the spending for COVID came off the books? Did you see anybody say that?
No, and actually, I often, I'm sure many of your viewers have this same experience, where you start thinking to yourself, am I crazy for having this thought? Because I've been saying that exact same thing for over a year, which was, well, wait, because there was all this spending and now we're not seeing that spending anymore. Isn't that why? And yet you never see that. No. And of course, when you have the Glenn Kesslers offering up Pinocchios or Geppettos, whatever they are, it always comes with this caveat, well, the context is missing, but it wasn't quite a lie. When it's Trump, that's a lie. They will call an opinion a lie when it comes to Donald Trump, but when it comes to actual things that matter, when it comes to money, when it comes to Democrats lying, you will not see that same zeal with which they approach Trump.
Final question: what do you see on November 8th?
It's going to be interesting. I think that I just read a story that said that New York may very well be getting its first Republican governor since, I think, 2006. So the polls that I'm looking at are the only thing that seem to muddy up what otherwise should be very well understood to be a coming red crush. I don't call it a red wave, I call it a red crush. But I think the intuition that a lot of people are feeling, that it will be the red crush, I think that's what we're going to see.
All right, Eddie, we really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And you know what? I have to be honest with my viewers and listeners. I want, as Ed said, the red crush, because if you don't get a rise up of the folks, if you don't get that, then the corruption that we see in the media will get worse. So they're getting away with it now. And the anecdote to that used to be Fox News and Newsmax to some extent, but they're under siege over there, both Fox News and Newsmax, by this Dominion lawsuit, which was featured on 60 Minutes last night. And their power isn't what it used to be. The power of the conservative media is not nearly what it used to be. The progressive power isn't either, because the collapse of ratings on all television left-wing networks and the collapse of circulation on the newspapers. So they're both in decline, but as Eddie pointed out, I think very accurately, the boldness, it used to be, well, you know, we can't actually go out and say something not true to the readers or the listeners because they'll come back and we'll get hurt. It's gone. They can say things that are not true. And so if that doesn't get corrected, and the only people that can correct it are you, the voters, the only people that can correct it by going to the polls on November 8th and saying, you know what, we've had enough. I may not be a conservative. I may not like Donald Trump. I may not be somebody who subscribes to the Republican Party, but I see the danger on the other side being so much worse, which it is, that I'm going to vote against those progressives. And I think that's what will happen. Listen to this. Convicted home title thief explaining what happens after he forges your home's title and takes over as the new owner.
Nobody thinks that I can take their house and borrow against the house. Oh no, I have title insurance. It's in my name, or he would have to get some special document. They would call me. Nobody's calling you. After I've stolen the title, borrowed against it, or sold the property, it's 60 to 90 days for that person to even figure out that they're the victim of this crime. You start getting foreclosure notices. You've got 4 mortgages on your house. You don't even own your home anymore. It's not even in your name.
Home title fraud is growing 2.5 times faster than credit card fraud, if you can believe it. You could be a victim and not even know it. Here's how to protect yourself and verify your home's title is still in your name. Please visit HometitleLock.com, promo code RADIO. Then register your address for your no-obligation home title report, a $100 value free. Again, get your free home title report at HometitleLock.com, promo code RADIO. Okay, here's the final thought of the day. The New York Yankees got waxed by the Houston Astros, and now the Astros-Phillies go to the World Series. I'm a baseball guy, I like baseball. That's going to be the lowest rated World Series ever because, both teams are good. And if you're really baseball aficionado, but there's no glamour attached to it. That's why I said that. But anyway, I went to the game on Saturday night. Oh, boy, was it bad for the Yankees. And I got to see the Bronx. Bronx is a place where I've spent the least amount of time in New York City. But I went early, and Yankee Stadium is in the Bronx. And I cruise around. Mostly immigrants live in the Bronx, down by the stadium. I didn't see one cop. Not one. Now, there wasn't chaos on the streets. Streets were dimly lit. If you wanted to do bad things, you could. There were narcotics around. I saw the guys selling them. Okay, I saw it. No cops. Now, I understand the police in the Bronx are under siege. They're reactive. There's so much violence that they don't have time to stop the violence. They have to react to the violence after it happens. But it was like, this is not the way to do this. And New York City has become a very violent place, particularly if you get outside the business area of Manhattan. Now, there are safe neighborhoods, but around the stadium, dicey. Also, there weren't many, but there were a few real idiots in the Yankee Stadium crowd. They were drunk. I don't understand why the stadium doesn't remove these people, why they let them curse and do vile things in front of children. Why didn't security just remove them? Obviously, they're inebriated. I just don't understand any of this. We need discipline and fairness in American society. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Tomorrow we will uptick our election coverage. Frank Luntz. See you then. Bill O'Reilly here. As you have probably heard, I recently started a new weekly program called Shock and Awe, exclusively on Vidgo. Now, I want to share more exciting news. Right now, right this moment, when you sign up for Vidgo, you'll also get a copy of my new book, Killing the Legends, free. But that's not all. Vidgo will give you $15 off each month of your premium Vidgo subscription. Now, to sign up for Vidgo and get your free book and discount, please go to vidgo.com/BillBook. I'll remind you again, when you sign up now for Vidgo, you will get a free copy of Killing the Legends and $15 off your monthly premium Vidgo subscription. Vidgo doesn't have just my program. They have all kinds of live sports, news, and entertainment program that you want. Please go to vidgo.com/BillBook. Sign up today.